Greetings, flesh creatures. It is I, Megatron. On behalf of TFYLP, I want to congratulate you for listening to the most refined collective podcast on this miserable little planet Earth. Yes. Here you'll find knowledgeable fans discussing every aspect of Transformers and beyond. Now, enjoy the show while I continue my path to complete conquest of all of you miserable biological entities. Predacons, terrorize!
Hi, welcome to TFYLP. I realize I need to change my camera setup here. Like there's no Christian.
What?
That's
now
all right.
There's a Christian.
Thank you.
All right, I think we got
I can't believe you tried to exclude me.
You made our podcast secular by removing the Christian.
Right.
Haha.
Can't do that.
Anyway.
Not in this country.
Well, welcome to TFYLP. I believe it's episode 592. We are live tonight. It is August 14th. I'm Lucas. I'm joined tonight by Anna.
Good evening.
And Catherine.
Hello.
And Christian.
What up?
So we, we're going to have a tight show tonight. Some people have now moved to the East Coast and it's later. So they have not.
Oh
adapted.
no, how horrible.
Well,
Hey,
Eastern
I've
time
got
zone,
new
I guess, not
employee
the East Coast.
orientation.
I
I
love
got
that
new
shit.
employee orientation in the morning. I have to go and hear about like HR or something.
I have done this show before. Every orientation I have ever had.
Great.
Really?
At least two.
I did this show the night after my job interview for this job, and I fell asleep on camera. It was good stuff.
Wow.
My most
Well,
impressive performance on the show.
Well, perhaps you can fall asleep again tonight.
Yeah, I'm good.
So before we start in the topic, is there any news this week? I'm trying to remember. I'm sure there's something.
I haven't been paying a lot of attention this week, to be honest.
Oh. Yes, there is one small bit of news that has caused quite the kerfuffle in the Transformers bot posting group.
Is this about
Studio
Megatron?
Series. It is about Megatron.
Oh,
Megatron's not going to be a gun, everyone.
Wait, what?
It's the end of the world.
I'm shocked. They're not even going to try to do the Shockwave ship gun thing?
No, they're not.
now I think that they won't be doing it justice if they don't do some sort of pack-in gun thing.
I think that's a guarantee. Truly, I do.
Like it has
Like a
to be at
little
least
tiny-
an MP Starscream style.
Yeah, a little decoy or
accessory
something.
duder.
Yeah, they already did one in that accessory pack with the Centurion drone. So and Browning just came with Squeeze Play. So yeah, I guess
And this
Browning came
thing?
with Cancer. That also.
Mini title part comes with Tidal Wave.
Yeah,
I mean,
I would not fret about this. He was
No,
never
I
going to
think-
transform into a gun. That's not a thing anymore. I'm sorry, it can't
and that's
be.
what I've been trying to tell. Like I've mentioned this on the show several times. I've talked to you guys about this before. But you can't actually make G1 Megatron accurate because he would have to size change to an extent that would make no sense, right? So the best thing you can do is offer a Megatron that transforms into something. And if you don't want him to turn into a tank, just say that doesn't exist, right? Be like, okay, this is a transforming action figure, but the alt mode is me sleight of handing real fast and then replacing him with the little tiny toy gun, right? That's how he transforms.
I think you're being far too reasonable about this.
I am always far too reasonable about these wild thinking things.
Yes, but that doesn't answer to the fandom brain, which is very primal.
Right.
Fandom brain is pretty primal,
Yeah, they've been
which is appropriate.
Really weird about it.
I feel like we've
I do
had
think
enough
that they'll do a good job.
representations.
People have been shown around the Devastation game model where he does turn into that Combiner Wars tank, but his robot mode is basically the G1 show. And I think essentially they're going to do that, make the treads fold up and hide away so you don't have to see all the tank stuff in robot mode. I think it'll be really great. It's got a leader
That would
price
be
point
perfect.
as far as we know, so that's enough parts to do that sort of thing.
Right. Well,
And
I
they
think
give us
it'll be
the
fine.
accessories he needs.
Yep, he'll come with the sword, the purple gun, and then him as a gun. It'll be fine.
Well,
Surely this will be the best version of that siege mold.
Oh,
I'm just hoping they do it with how good the 86 Prime looks in pictures, right? In pictures, that 86 Prime just looks fantastic. I really hope they do 2/3 as good with Megatron, right? Just give us that much
confident.
effort because we care about Megatron as much as we do Optimus, right? So
I
make it
am
nice.
confident they will do it, and it will be great. But it will not transform into a gun because that is illegal and dangerous now.
And like I said, just have it not transform. If it bothers you, if you get all
just don't
poopy
do it.
pants about it, just be like, okay, he doesn't transform. He is poof poof, and then little guy, yay, whatever.
So that's the news from this week.
I think that is pretty
I will
much
say
it.
I celebrate the Siege Megatron mold.
It's your favorite toy.
It is.
You have a lot of it.
And then also, I went to Target the other day, and I saw like this new Optimus Prime. Like I thought it was an old one, but that came out in Power of the Primes. But I don't know. It's like on the shelf now.
So you got a sighting of it? You found the Power of the Primes one?
Yeah, they did
That's
have it at the
awesome.
local Target. So
That's so amusing that that's happening.
so crazy.
It's because it's Orion and also Optimus Prime, and that ties into the movie.
Oh, yeah, okay. That actually explains why they would do it.
Yeah,
If they're doing it because it's an evolution.
Yeah, and in a year where they're reissuing like a bunch of primes for this,
why
and
not
it's the
do that
anniversary,
one?
It's that one because it looks really nice in Optimus mode, and it looks really nice in Orion mode. So
yeah, it actually wasn't a bad toy. Like that one wasn't bad.
It's a good one.
There was a lot of mediocre stuff in Power of the Primes, but that wasn't really one of them.
It was good. I liked it.
Supposedly in the Discord, they shared a rumor that they like happened to find a huge stockpile of them, and that's what happened. But I mean, who knows if it's true?
There's no way.
I like Christian's explanation better. It probably makes a little more sense, honestly. Both could be true, and that would be fine. It doesn't really matter. Both, either. Who cares?
So, anyway, so for our stated topic tonight, which is about Titans, and I think you brought this up, and I think it's like a really nice topic because like we just had a new Titan that released relatively recently. We can talk a little bit about that. We can kind of talk about, I know in the Warden interview they talked a little bit about Titans as well. So we can kind of discuss some of our ones that we would like to see in the future potentially, and then also just kind of a retrospective and like our favorite Titans over the years.
Yeah, because it's the new Titan class Lilith. She's my new Titan.
Whoa.
That's
so
right.
Lifelike.
Yeah. Ready to devastate the other Transformers by eating them. In joke among the cast and my other friends, as my dog Lilith here likes to eat Transformers plastic. She really likes to chew on it and consume it. She's eaten many accessories in it. She loves KO plastic because it's softer. It's better for the chewing. But in reality, the Titan that's actually joined my house is this guy. And, Christian and I have been talking about getting a new tidal wave for years, right? And I would always be like, tidal wave needs to be a Titan. And Christian would be like, he needs to be a commander. I'm going to be a little bit smaller. I'd be like, you're wrong. He needs to be a Titan. He needs to be like 7 Titans on top of each other. Let's just get all the tidal waves because I really love tidal wave. And I've been hoping for this figure to come out for years, and it finally got announced. And here he is. He's. I've heard that he's the smallest Titan. My other Titans are still packed for my move so far. I would definitely say he's not the lightest Titan. This guy's heavy, but I've heard that he's the smallest Titan. But even being the smallest Titan, he's humongous, right? Like this guy, like he stands on my face. He's that big.
I know roughly how large you are, and it looks like Tidal Wave would be bigger than Predaking, so
Oh, you know what? I bet they're not counting the Combiner Titans. Everybody forgets those are Titans, right? Because
Surprise.
they're Combiner Titan. They need. Um, but yeah, he's not as big as some of the others, but and he's definitely thinner than a lot of the others. He's not bulky, and mine currently has a hole in his back because his little version is out playing. Um, but he's huge, right? And you open this guy up and you play with him, and he's amazing, and you put him with your other Armada guys, and he has fun. And then what the heck do you do with this thing, right? I know when we talked about what to do with Titans in our cast chat, Paul made the joke that what you do is you take them and you put them up on the highest shelf possible where they're the most precarious position you can possibly put them in. That way, if they fall, they definitely break. Because that's like what most of us do with our Titans is we put them on top of our shelves because otherwise there's no space for them. Like a D12 displayer like Christian kind of has the option to adjust the shelves and make room. But if you look at the shelves behind me, he doesn't fit on them. He's too tall. So displaying Titans and doing things with them after you get them, it's kind of tricky because they're really cool, really expensive. They're coming once a year.
Well,
We have a lot, right? There's like what, like 9, 10 of them? 1,000?
by keeping them on the tops of our tallest shelves, it ensures that inevitably one day one will hit us in the head, taking us out, which is frankly how a percentage of our fandom is destined to go.
That would just make things easier, yeah. That way you don't have to worry about where to put the rest of the Titans because one already beat you, so you're good.
But they take up massive amounts of real estate, and I personally had to reduce the number which I can have because I need to keep all of mine behind glass and because cats. But
13 Titans, unless you want to count the different versions of Devastator and Metroplex.
How many did you say, Christian?
13.
13 Titans! And these things are 2 feet tall!
is that including the Japanese ones?
At least Grand Max.
Okay.
And Black Eric wasn't Japanese. But like if you want to do, the other Metroplexes and the other Fort Max and the other Devastators.
I was thinking Grand Max.
How?
Yeah, Grand Max,
like,
yes.
How do you have... I don't know. I don't see... I mean, and I know, obviously, that there is a large percentage of the cast and also the viewership that probably have both versions or multiple versions of these Titans, right? But man, like, for display purposes, I don't see how you could have like more than one Metroplex, more than one Devastator, etc., etc.
I have two Guardian robots.
Yeah, I guess you have 2 of the same one, so there you go.
I do.
I had to be completely honest, like the fans hobby tidal wave might still come to my house, right? Like even though I have this guy, like I just really love tidal wave. Yeah. And it's really hard not to want them both. It's not quite as big as this one, but it's still humongous and it's still not going to fit in my house. But
see, I almost kind of feel like the way that I almost want to when I like actually clean my room up is to display them like on the floor, like in a city mode or whatever. Because like, say if you have a dedicated Transformers room, why not just fill the floor space with all of these?
And I think one of us actually has experience making displays with the city modes that many of us neglect entirely.
I have, in fact, spent a lot of time playing around with all the Titans that have valid city modes and trying to make various assembled piles of a city there and it's a lot of fun. They do interact very well. I think a really important piece would be if you bought the track extenders for Omega Supreme from NoNef when he had them. Mm-hmm. I think a couple other sources had them as well. But those track extenders allow you take Metroplex's, Omega Supreme's small track, and now it's suddenly, a light rail, letting you build a city off of it.
Right. I think
very exciting time.
Yeah, they're loads of fun. and now with Dr. Wu, because if I'm here, I'm talking about Dr. Wu. Apparently, that's just all I get excited for now. These little guys are so good. But yeah, they scale perfectly. Micromaster scale is a beautiful complement to Titans.
I think Micromaster scale is kind of what they were made for, right? Like, I think they kind of just go really well with those smaller figures. You know, we started getting Titans around the time we were having Titan Masters, which are, you know, not kind of along the line of a Micromaster size with their little riding buddies when we had the Titan Master figures. So I think they just really work well with that. You know, the paths, the streets, the track extensions, all of that just works really well with those size of figures. And I think Catherine's right that Dr. Wu has given us a really good play pattern to play with our Titans, right? Like, that's a really good option. I don't know if bringing back your old Micromaster figures from when we were getting Micromasters is really going to make you that happy, because they don't really look that great, right?
Go further back, get the original Micromasters.
It's funny because the original Micromasters don't really look better, but they're just so much more joyful. They're just so much more like clever and original and whatever. And they would still look good with your Titans, right? They just don't really move that well. And that kind of like, if you're trying to work with the Hasbro stuff, you're not going to get like good scenes. You're going to get scenes. You're going to get scenes with lifeless little robots that barely move on your Titans. If you go the Dr. Wu route, you can get like real battle scenes or factory scenes or whatever, because they have enough articulation to handle that. And honestly, the Dr. Wu route doesn't really cost that much more, because Micromaster size figures have gotten so expensive at this point that getting 2 for $25-ish from Dr. Wu is not really that bad.
Dr. Wu kind of has created this market, created this market, because now Micromaster is a valid scale. They've really extended on that, and we have that new company coming out with that's going to launch out with Prime, Warpath, and a handful of other bots for that. Supposedly, that's going to be about the same scale.
I don't understand how they're able to do that at that price point. You know, like it seems like obviously Hasbro can't. They can't make fully articulated figures that small, and definitely not at that price point. So it's like, why? Like, it seems crazy that, you know, making relatively small runs, like, we don't know how large the runs are, but it seems kind of crazy they can do it.
I think the kind of trick is. Go ahead, Catherine.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think the kind of trick is that they're actually really about core class complexity, right? They're not actually like quite to deluxe class complexity. They're kind of at core class, and they take advantage of being small, and they can kind of blend some of the details a little better. So really, like, the parts count is probably not that much above core class, maybe like 2 parts above, like, if they usually put angle tilt on their figures, but they don't put in like wrist articulation, and most of the time they can't really hold their weapons. The weapons kind of clip on them. They're clever with it, but I don't think the parts count gets super high with those figures. They just keep it simple in clever ways that I don't think they're that much more expensive to make than a core class figure, and since they're so much smaller, they're saving on plastic costs.
They're also keeping costs low by having learned very well from Hasbro on how to market them, and not even being humble about, maybe we'll do a repaint or 2. Like, I just this week I got shipped out the 4 Cyclonuses that are all coming with a Bumblebee of some sort.
Wait, and have they also learned the Hasbro route of like releasing a figure and then releasing a slightly nicer version like a year down the road?
No, what they're doing is every 2-pack, unless you're like me and want everything, all of them, every 2-pack typically comes with the figure you want and another one.
Yeah.
And they're very, very much not doing the Hasbro thing. Like, they one of their very first releases was Galvatron, right? They did a Galvatron figure, and the Galvatron figure is dated compared to most of their newer designs. And most of the newer designs are a lot better than that Galvatron. Yet they just re-released it when they released the Galvatron that came with Galva Ball, because they did the little Unicron Galvatron dude. And they made them a 2-pack, and they brought back, one of their very first figures, that original Galvatron, improved in 0 ways, and still kind of like, lagging behind the rest of the line. So they're not incrementing us too bad. They're doing a good job of just kind of doing what they do and getting better as they go. It wouldn't hurt if they went back and redid some of the early stuff. Like, I was playing with their Beachcomber a little while ago, and it's like, okay, he needed a little more time in the oven. And, he's cool and all, but yeah, he's not quite as good as the rest of his friends.
He's Beachcomber. He doesn't need to do much.
He does too. Beachcomber's a super cool character. I love Beachcomber.
Now,
So
a real
anyway-
highlight coming up is...
sorry.
back
Yeah, we're
to
talking
the-
about Titans.
Oh, yeah, well, I was going to finish it up
but
with
real
Megatron.
quick.
Oh, finish up.
Because they've got Megatron coming out soon, and he will turn into the gun.
Oh.
It's almost like they don't have the same constraints as an American large corporation does.
Well, it's also going to be a gun this big, so...
Yeah.
Whoa, studio series.
I think
Well,
was
no,
that,
Studio
maybe your
series.
studio series could hold him.
was
That'd be
was
cool.
that the last gun Megatron that got released? Was the Legends size one?
I
Yes.
think so.
I think technically there was a
No.
platinum release of
Yes.
the Nerf Megatron. I think that's technically the last
Hmm.
one, probably. I bet.
But that's the last mold. You're right.
So anyway,
Yes.
so back
So
to Titans.
that is one option for Titans, right? One option is to
Yeah.
just dive into Doctor Wu or whip out your old Micromasters, use them in their city modes. They also look good in their actual like bot modes too. Like if you stand them on them and have them like jumping around on them and stuff, like that looks pretty cool. But
You can
The
also
only thing
link those bases that they released briefly. The little,
yeah, the Micromaster bases.
the Micromaster bases, the
Yeah.
like Airwave and the Deluxe class guys.
Right.
They
yeah,
were
like
okay.
yeah, well, and they did that too. Like the Soundwave they released, the leader class Soundwave, like from
Yeah, Titans
Oh,
Return.
yeah, going
all,
back.
all the
Return.
leaders in Titans Return had
and
that.
yeah, those actually like did a pretty good job of converting into like a little
Even-
base too. So you
Even
kinda-
dudes that shouldn't have like Six Shot and Black Shadow had that stuff that they
Yeah.
could connect. It was weird, but they could do it. It was fun.
and we're headmasters, even though they
They
weren't
also were
headmasters.
And
Masters,
what
yeah.
base is complete without Overlord?
Exactly. Overlord was
Yeah.
supposed to do it though.
Well, Warden did mention in the interview about a new Overlord or whatever too. So I don't know. I
Yeah.
mean, like obviously he was just throwing stuff out. So it's not like he was like Overlord is coming.
Well,
it was really more
not-
like a
Not
that would be
only
cool.
did he mention that it would be cool, he specifically said it would be Titan Overlord.
right, which would be
Now
super
back
cool.
on
ooh,
So yeah, it's like how many the question's been going around the fandom, and then TFW asked the question to Warden: are you guys running out of Titans? Or running out of
Right.
big characters to do at Titan scale?
And his
The answer
answer
was
was
no.
of course no. Yeah,
The answer was no.
right. He's like, we'll figure something out. So
I think Overlord's a good candidate. People have been bandying about Rail Racer for a while,
yeah,
because those would be 3 largest trains that then would be a big old combiner as big as the Devastator Predaking combiners. That would
I
be
worry
cool.
it'll become a price point.
I can see
I'm okay with that. Everything else.
But
pretty
more
much
of
is.
like how much toy can we fit into this price point as opposed to a Titan
Right.
class size large figure.
I'm still okay with that.
yeah. I mean, obviously the
At
last couple
13
HasLabs
giant
have been-
figures.
So yeah, right.
That's a good example too, Lucas. The HasLabs are not giant except for Unicron. I think that's a really good thing. Again, we have a baker's dozen worth of giant robots now. How many more giant robots can I possibly fit on my shelves? Not very many, and I've got a lot of them.
Right.
But
So
if it
I was
were,
going to mention
Rail Racer,
um,
put them inside because it's small. Tidal Wave, I think I could even maybe put inside of a cabinet. I haven't opened mine yet. I'll let you know.
So one
Might have been in a
display
cabinet.
option for Titans is those the Billy bookcases that, like, because they're adjustable, like I think the middle shelf is the only one that you can't move up and down. So you can, if you wish, like, and that's kind of how I display some of my Titans. I actually have, there's like a half one, so like instead of, like, these are full ones, right? But there's ones where you can kind of get it like half the width or whatever, and it'll fit Titans in there. The only bad thing with that is that you're really just standing them up and down, but there are certain Titans, like, say, for example, Metroplex that Catherine has behind her, that really that's his only pose is up and down. So, like, that, works okay for him.
Yep.
Because the
Some of
new
the
guys
later Titans. Yeah.
can really pose, right? Like, I know my lighting's not doing too well with them, but he's in a dramatic pose and he captures dramatic poses really well. His legs don't move all the way forward, which is kind of a weird annoyance, but it's because of his skirts. They didn't bother giving him full articulation there. But like, he can really pose and get some like cool looks going. He's not going to do that on a low def bookshelf like that,
Right.
which is a bummer.
Like, Omega can pose very well. Scorponok can pose very well. The Arc and Nemesis can pose kind of okay. They have the joints to do it. They have the kibble that hinders them from doing so.
Yeah, limited number of poses they can actually hold well. They can do it. Yeah, Metroplex 2. He poses
Metroplex
really
2.
well too.
I have issues with mine in the chest area where it wants to collapse, but he does also have the.
He has weight issues.
Yeah.
Yeah, he has weight issues. He just has the joints to do it. Predaking actually has
the
excellent joints for posing,
Right.
and he's very stable, especially if you have the upgrade kit or you have the KO version. Both of those have just a little bit more articulation. They can pose just a little bit better. But like,
Yeah, I actually don't think...
like.
Oh, I was gonna say Predaking. Like, I actually don't think that the combined mode is that bad for Predaking. I mean, the rest of the the individual versions are kind of crap, but
real bad.
If you just combine them and throw a couple upgrade kits on it, and stickers and all that kind of stuff, and spend like an extra $100 on top of buying the figure, then it's fine.
But if you want to pose these guys like that and you want to put them in cool, impressive hero poses, battle poses, whatever, where are you going to put that, right? Like, is your kitchen table going to become your new display space? Because then you might actually have room for a few Titans to make it. I had a full desk size table that I had as a Titan battle scene. Like, Titans squaring off with their entourages running across them. I had that set up for years. And you know how many Titans a full-size desk table held to actually look good having a war? 2. I had 2 up there. That was it, right? It was just a one-on-one scene, and that was it. That took up a whole, like, normal-size table. It was like 4 feet long and 2 feet deep table, and it looked good. But how many of those tables can I hold in my house, right? Like, I don't have a full house size basement to devote to those tables.
I have a dedicated 7-foot table that I use to fit and I need that much space to get all of the Titans out in their full size.
So Ron
mentioned
that he uses the IKEA PAX wardrobe, and I guess it's about 24 inches deep, so that way he can kind of fit multiple Titans in there. Christian's like,
what was that you said, Christian?
Oh, I said I'm impressed that you could fit them all on a 7-foot table.
Yeah.
Well, all the ones I'm putting in the scene.
Oh, okay.
I could do 6 Titans or so.
You have a dozen giant
That's
robots on that 7-foot table?
I can fit 6 in and have it still look good.
Well, and that's one of the things
impressive.
too, is I feel like I've really scaled back on the Titan purchasing lately, just because I've ran out of space. And so I think that there's probably certain ones, if they did them, I might get it. Like, I am tempted by Tidal Wave. But like Cybertron Metroplex, I didn't end up getting just because I couldn't find it. Like I couldn't find the space for it.
That's the PAX. That's like a whole. It's a system, is what that's called.
Yeah.
There's a specific piece that I need to look at. Chat person whose name I did not catch. I think it was Ron.
It was Ron.
Please tell me, because I'm interested.
I think
is it
with
this?
That system,
is it that maybe?
Yeah, like I think that you can put shelving in there, like they sell it. So, it would just be like regular shelves. Just it's a little bit deeper because it's supposed to be used as a closet.
Intriguing. I always like IKEA hacks, so yeah, let me know.
Yeah, it's a good idea, because that's another thing I've done with mine is I've how most like closets, like standard house closets have that like upper shelf above your like your clothing hanger thing.
Right.
I've put Titans up there before, right? Like that's a place usually there's enough room for them to stand, and usually those shelves are a little deeper, but then you can't really see them from like across the room because they're usually like 5 feet at least up, so they're a little hard to see. So there's natural places in a house sometimes you can put them. We had a cool ledge at our old house that was like, it was only about that deep, but you could stand a Titan on it, so I used that to display them, but I couldn't really get them to do anything up there because there just wasn't quite enough room. And I say all this about like, where do you put these darn things? I say all these with like an actual kind of stress response, because I've liked almost every Titan, right? Like I really don't have a whole lot of Titans I don't like. I didn't really like Omega. I didn't really like how that came out. I like other versions of Omega Supreme better than the Titan. Don't really like Metroplex that much, but it was kind of, the first, so there's some room for error there. The Devastator and the Predaking both need upgrade kits for me to like them, and then I like them just fine. Right. But I want to have them all, and they're all characters I want to have displayed doing something. I want freaking Trypticon just standing in a corner. I want him eating people and devastating things and stepping on stuff and being like all scary dinosaur, right? That's a lot more fun. I definitely don't want Tidal Wave standing in an A pose on a shelf. He needs to be epically menacing Autobots. Like that needs to happen. And it's a bummer that like it's really hard to pull off with space, because now I went from like the actual square footage of my house and my new townhouse are about the same, but there's spaces we don't have anymore, like a basement. So I'm trying to be a little more careful with how much I spend on just shelves and display, as far as the space that I'm using on it. So now I'm really thinking about like, how many Titans can I really have out doing their thing? The answer right now is 0. I haven't quite figured out what I'm going to do yet. But Tidal Wave's obviously out. And he's just literally sitting on the table I use for my computer.
So I was going to mention in the chat, Friggenstein said that they found a Metroplex at a yard sale for $20. I really want to know, is that G1 Metroplex or is that like Titan Metroplex? Because that would be pretty impressive if you found that for $20 at a yard sale as the Titan class one.
Either of the Metroplexes.
Well, I mean, I think like the G1 Metroplex, like if you found one that was like incomplete, I don't know, maybe it's $50 or whatever. I don't know. I haven't looked at the prices recently, but I think you could find a deal on it, like if it's not great condition, but anyway. And then Ron said that that you can customize the shelving, and then they're going to post some pics in Discord.
Ooh, I will go look. Thank you.
So,
that sounds exciting. I get the Titan display thing is a thing, Anna. I mean, we've been talking about it this whole time, and I just put mine back on my shelves because I took them down because I'm doing a little bit of construction up there. I put them back up over the weekend. They're all, most of them now are just in the Sentinel standing straight up pose, because that's how I can do it. I've got some arm stuff going on. The Omega and the Guardian robot thing actually looks pretty cool, I think. And I have Cybertron Metroplex doing axe things with Spark Drinker. So I'm doing a little bit, but like you just can't do it with G1 Metroplex and the Fort Maxes and Trypticon certainly because it's got that giant tail. Yeah, well, Devastator can't do it. It's hard.
A couple of those guys you can integrate with your regular housing decorations, like Trypticon easily. You could take Omega Supreme in base mode, replace the missile with just a vase of flowers.
It's not a bad idea.
That's
where I need my third Guardian robot.
Yeah, so a couple of them like that. You know, if you're just a little creative, you can mix them in with the house and kind of make it, make a little more interesting and save
my house. Space. I can do whatever I want with it.
I do think, Christian, that it would be like very fitting for you to like integrate them into the furniture of your house.
I'll see what I can do.
Yeah,
that was actually how I displayed Metroplex at first. Like he didn't go with my Transformers. He was in the living room beside the TV. He was just like, displayed there. He was just like the cool decoration thing you put beside the television instead of a vase or a sculpture or some sort of piece of art or something, or even like a computer console or anything. It was Metroplex. He was just there. And it worked. Like he was kind of a conversation piece.
I mean,
if you
brought a lot of first dates over and
if you can't dedicate,
they were like, "What's up there?"
If you can dedicate a table to your display area or wherever you keep all of your cave of goodies, you definitely should, because Titans deserve to have the space. At least one at any given time should be out on your table, like covered in other bots.
I agree with that. Yeah. They look neat that way. Like it works really well. It's a cool way to display them. I do think they're kind of wasted inside of shelves or on shelves, or like if they're not out where they can do things. Like they really need to be out interacting with the scenery or other toys or whatever.
I don't know. I kind of like Ron had posted pictures in the chat of his setup, and I'm digging it. Now I kind of want to redo my shelves, but I don't know if I have the funds or the time to actually do that.
I feel like a joke was played on me mildly with these pictures because there's so many army guys and snake terrorists in them. But the one that has the PS4 games and then the Ark and Scorponok and Predaking beneath it, I am into that. Yeah, that's really well done. Thanks, Ron.
Yeah, I actually would like that with like half as many figures in it, just so they could breathe a little bit and do things.
Right.
But like it would work. Like there's enough space in there, and he's got the lighting in there to also kind of help it. So like I just think they need room to breathe and do things a little bit.
We're not the 4 dummies, so we're not here to judge your displays.
I like it. It's fantastic. Each shelf has its own specific theme. They're all doing their own separate thing. It's great display.
Well, we haven't even talked about, apparently people now are 3D printing Titans, like their own Titans.
That's a whole...
And even bigger than Titans sometimes. Yeah. People are printing these like 5 feet tall monstrosities that like every time I see one, they look great. Like they're really impressive and cool. And I always think like that would be kind of neat to have one of. And then I think like I just moved, and like every large item that got moved at least got a couple dents and dings in it just from being moved as furniture. And I just imagine like my 5 foot tall Scorponok getting dented in a moving truck. That would be tragic.
My Titans have moved in my car each time I've had to move.
My
Titans moved just
fine. Boxes for mine, and I just like stuffed them in there.
I put mine in bins. I just wrapped them in bubble paper or bubble wrap and just put other toys around them as kind of padding to fill bins with them. It worked.
I mean, to be honest, most of those Hasbro figures, like the newer ones, are usually pretty sturdy.
Yeah, and I use them as padding.
I did make a special trip here. It wasn't just Unicron, but Unicron sat in my front seat with me, and I don't remember if I buckled him in or not, probably, because that thing is so huge that I didn't want to try and put a box around it. And then because he was one of the first things I brought because I didn't want it to be in the way for moving stuff, he just kind of sat on my bathroom counter for, I don't know, a couple of weeks until my
So
display cases were in their final location.
now, would Unicron count as a passenger in the HOV lane, you think?
It's heavy enough to activate my seatbelt sensor, so I'm going to go with yes.
You should definitely try that.
Right, yeah, I was gonna say not that we recommend that, right? Like that is not the official position of TFYLP.
Yeah, that was a fun trip. And then I think my mom dropped him on the pavement outside.
Oh no!
He ended up being fine, but I was like, heart stopping in horror,
Oh.
collapsing to the ground, sort of thing. I was like, he was fine.
The one thing I will say about the Titans too is like I think Hasbro has done a pretty good job with the size overall because like a lot of these, especially the G1 version, right? Like you see the cartoon and Metroplex is huge, and then the actual G1 Metroplex is like what, like that big or whatever. It's like
Little baby.
yeah, a little baby, whatever. And a lot of them are kind of like that. So I think it's really neat. Like, I mean, I felt like that, with all those figures and like, especially like Triptychon and all that, just like kind of getting them out and going, oh yes, like this is the version that I really want. And so it's like, even though they kind of just redid the G1 version on some of the Titans, like they actually did it at the correct scale. And I thought that was super cool.
I think they kind of hit the upper size limit, like honestly, like what you can do, because it's like Tidal Wave. He's not actually big enough to be a battleship, right? Like he with the car robots, especially with the Armada figures that he would go with, he's not actually big enough to be a battleship. He should be even bigger than he is. But I think if you get any taller than these like 16 to 24-inch figures, you're gonna just like hit that point where it's no longer fun to play with. Like he is actually fun to play with. He's the one, like the two ship bots I don't think are actually that fun to play with as action figures, but he works really well as just an action figure that's really big because he's actually kind of simple, but in a good way. So I think they kind of hit that limit of how big a figure can be before they get encumbered.
You're definitely right about the size there because we saw that limit in hand with Unicron.
I was going to say the same thing because Unicron is probably too big. It's as big as it needs to be, not fun to mess with.
Right.
So it's a hard balance to put there because Unicron needs to be huge, and he is. It's great. He's awesome, but also bad toy because of that.
I mean, I will say
Although
that
again,
ironically,
Space Break Doctor Wu.
Just get the little baby one.
I will say that ironically, the third-party versions of Titans that have come out have been smaller.
They have been.
But I actually think it's like worked pretty well for them. Like the Make Toys, Metroplex, and Scorponok were really neat figures, but I think they were only like 18 inches tall instead of 24 inches. But they're like super solid and they're pretty good display pieces like on their own. I don't know that they would actually go with any regular figures or not, but and then the Zeta Unicron or whatever is smaller as well. So
how big was that Planet X Triptychon? It came in two pieces, so
I think that
big.
was about the same size. Like like roughly. I never actually.
Yeah, I haven't seen that one in a while.
Yeah, I swear I thought it scaled with them, but like it's been a minute since I've I never had them in hand.
Chad, if you have pics of size comparisons for those guys, please post them because we haven't seen them in a while.
He couldn't have been that big, or I would have bought him.
That's a good point. So what Titans do we need to have? Like, we're not running out of Titans. So who's on the list? We mentioned Overlord. We mentioned Rail Racer. I want to throw in Metroplex again, G1 Metroplex,
Yep.
because I think it's probably time to do a more accurate one.
They keep
The one-
wanting to do a G1 Metroplex, because they keep kind of pitching it out as, well, what would you think about this with all their HasLab pools? But
Right.
So they've got something going on with G1 Metroplex.
but they're really kind of unsure there. Do they want to do a HasLab as Metroplex? That might be the only way we're going to get another G1 of him.
Maybe.
I think that's the only way. Like, I don't think that they're going to do a Titan class Metroplex just because, like, it was hard for them years ago to fit it into the Titan class, and you know, I just don't know that would.
I don't know if they could redo this one at the current price point.
Yeah.
I mean, it's,
yeah, we'll
like,
get the price point in just a
re-released
minute.
Fort Max, right?
They just re-released Fort Max at the new price point.
Fort Max is a much cheaper bot.
It's the same toy.
No, he is just a blocky, hollow brick.
Metroplex flipped around.
I mean, I think they had a couple. Metroplex had a couple accessories that, like, he had the gun, he had the car,
Scamper.
Yeah, he's got more going on. He's got he's got another bot there. He's got a lot more little flippy bits. Those flippy bits add up.
Yeah, and it's funny. Anytime you say that, and a lot of people really dislike Fort Max and like Metroplex, I have the exact opposite viewpoint. Fort Max is like everything he's supposed to be. Metroplex is just like disappointment upon disappointment for me.
I don't know. Like, I feel the opposite way with that. I mean, now, like,
A lot of people do.
The thing with Fort Max, like I don't know. I feel like the original G1 Fort Max was better than what they released now. And obviously that was a huge toy and all that too. And when they re-released that, I think it was like $300 or whatever. But I would take the G1 over the Titan for Fort Max.
You can't because I took yours.
Well,
I'll
maybe
give
you'll
you
sell
that they're
it back to me
closer.
one day, Christian.
Do you want it back?
No.
Okay.
I don't have space.
Like
We already been through this earlier in the show.
if new Fort Max is 50% better than G1 Fort Max, which I'm just throwing out a random number. If he's 50% better, then new Metroplex is like 500% better than G1 Metroplex, because he was one of those figures that was tiny and not really right at all. So
I think for the time, the first Metroplex was very good. The
it's a
Titan
neat
one,
toy.
it had.
Oh
it
yeah,
has-
that one.
That one, yeah, it had different objectives than what we do now. I mean, they were still trying to kind of go in the middle between the collector and the kid market, and that's just not the case anymore. They're fully circled back around to only trying to get us, and maybe we'll get a couple kids along the way. But like everything we get now is very accurate, very articulated. I mean, all the Titans now have ankle tilts because that's what we decided we wanted. Fort Max doesn't have that. Metroplex doesn't have that. Triptychon has it, but they're bad. So you know, I think Fort Max is probably down the road. I think Metroplex is definitely coming up, but somehow other way. Maybe they find a way to do two Titans that combine into Metroplex, and they do like the Autobot City version. Wouldn't seem kind of interested in that. You know, focusing on the Autobot City aspect rather than the Metroplex aspect.
Right.
I don't know that I'd like that, but I'd be willing to give it a chance.
I mean,
The Titans we need. Go ahead. I was trying to get us on topic.
Oh, I was just gonna say the Predaking. Like, I could see them re-releasing that again, like not the original one, but redoing it as a Titan again. But I don't know. Maybe it makes more sense to do the Devastator route, where they're doing a Commander class and a bunch of Voyagers or whatever instead.
Yeah, I think we're only thinking about Rail Racer as a candidate because those guys are relatively the same size, and then they would be proportional to each other and make a thing that is good. I think you could probably say the same for Raiden if you wanted to. Mm-hmm. I've heard Lio Kaiser bandied about, but that's, I mean, again, I'd rather do the Studio Series Devastator route for them. Titan is tough. I mean, if you just go by scale, right? Who are we missing? It'd be stuff like God Jinrai or Cybertron Minosaur and Quick Mix, which those would not sell very well, I don't think, even though I'd want them. Who else is big? Big.
Cyberverse Astro Train.
Cyberverse Astro Train.
That would be a fun one to see happen. It's never going to, but
No. Oh, what's the dude from Rescue Bots? High Tide.
Oh yeah, I could see that.
Well, really, I don't know if there's going to be quite the audience for a Titan class rescue bot.
Not yet.
not yet. We might get there.
14 years, right? I don't know. We've already hit that. Like Warden was saying, 14 years after, like whatever. I mean, Rescue Bots, we've already hit that point, right? So.
Yeah. Also, Anna, you and I have been talking about the tidal wave size class for a while. I was talking about it in relation to broadside.
Yes.
And I think if they did a big old broadside like tidal wave, and then had a smaller broadside that you can actually put with your other stuff, because he has different scales across different media, that would work for me.
That'd be interesting. I don't know if it would. I don't know if it would appeal to enough people to do a mass release. Like I could see that almost being like a con exclusive, or like HasCon, or
Selects or whatever.
a Selects or something. Yeah, just because would most G1 collectors want a broadside in their collection? Yes. Would most G1 collectors want a broadside in their collection that's that much bigger than the other triple changers? Probably not. Even though he should be, right? He should be, because his alt mode is absolutely massive. But
he needs to be at least Commander for sure, though.
Okay, you might get your wish, and next year's SDC exclusive will be a repaint of this tidal wave into broadside.
Repaint?
That'd be cool.
Just yes, repaint?
It would need a little more than a repaint. What if, here's the really stupid idea. What if they did the thing where it's the little one that goes in the big one, and the little one is his other alt mode? The big one is the ship.
It's just a repaint, but it'll sell out fast, so you better buy it.
And then the little one gets repainted as Ramjet to go with Tidal Wave.
Sure,
yeah,
totally.
That huge doesn't come with a minicon.
Yeah,
we're talking minicons, we're talking Titans, but a lot of Titans do come with.
Oh yeah, they'll throw in one repainted minicon too. That'll seal the deal.
We're missing Drill Bit from Metroplex and Ramjet from Tidal Wave. Stop excluding.
Well, that's a bummer though, right? Because for a long time, it felt like Titans were always going to get a buddy, right? Like they were always going to get their buddy releases as another toy. Mm-hmm. Your Six Guns and your Brunts and everything were always going to be released to go with your Titans. And then we had the Metroplex that didn't ever get his buddy, because that wouldn't have been a deluxe figure. It would be a mini con. And that's not a price point right now. So it'd be like a core class. I don't know. And now Tidal Wave is in the same boat. And yeah, I just don't. I think that Fans Hobby is going to be the one to give us those figures faster. I know Fans Hobby is going to give us Tidal Wave's buddy with their Tidal Wave. So
wait, the Ark had a buddy with Mainframe. Did the Nemesis?
Nemesis had those non-transforming little baby Seekers.
So no.
So I'm going to go with no. It could be argued yes, but no.
No's the right answer.
And then Guardian Robot came out and still had Lunar Tread as a result of Omega having Countdown. So, like, they're doing it, but not doing it.
Yeah, inconsistently at best. Especially, I think lately it's been a little worse, just with our two Armada Trilogy guys not getting their mini cons and just having no potential source of getting them is, I think, what really kind of bums me out. Like, we're just not seeing a mini con price point coming down the stream.
I counted them up last week on our show, Lucas. How many mini cons are we missing? It's like 10 now.
Yeah, that's harsh. We're missing a lot.
And it's sad because Armada is about the minicons. Like, that's the whole point. So to not have more than one of them, two of them if you want to be really weird about it, is very unfortunate.
How would you guys feel about, because I know all of you have at least owned at one point Unicron. How would you all feel about if they did a more palatable mass release Unicron as a Titan? Like simpler, cheaper, and they just got him out so more people could own him.
I don't know.
Because he's not really attainable now, right? Like technically, yes, if you wanted to find a Unicron right now for around $1,500 to $2,000, you could get one. I don't really consider that a good idea because I don't think the figure's worth that much.
No, don't do that.
I think the only way they would do it is doing Armada Unicron.
Right,
Yeah.
that would be a way to get us another Unicron. Yeah.
I'm of two minds about that. Like, I don't want to gatekeep something like, an important character like that from the fandom, but at the same time, I mean, it was a big deal to get that, and I think doing something like what you're talking about would cheapen it, and not even the value, the monetary value of it. That's silly the way it is now, but like, it was a moment in time where we all had to band together and get this thing made, and redoing it so soon after. I guess what would it be? Well, it's 5 years this year since we funded that, so I don't know.
Wait.
It's tough.
It would be.
In the chat, Soulcraft says Titan severed head Unicron.
There
That
you
I
go.
could go with.
Just
Like
the head.
You make that
would
thing
be
a play set, and I'm in.
Yeah.
Same thing for Grand Maul from Beast Machines, but no, like Beast Machines, so
Right.
no.
Well, and
Catherine,
Chris
you
in the
mentioned-
chat also mentioned Titan Star Convoy. Do you think that would be a Titan, or like that'd be kind of a smaller one? I don't know.
Be kind of smaller.
I almost kind of wish that would be a commander class, but I don't know if they can fit it in.
Titan Grandis would work.
Yeah.
Catherine, you mentioned like next year's repaint for Titans would be like Broadside, but we can't forget that Tidal Wave has 2 repaint schemes that they could do: American Colors and Energon Colors. I'd get at least one of those.
I don't know if I would. I want more tidal waves in my life, but I don't think I want more of the same tidal wave. Like I own the original tidal wave figure, but I don't own every repaint. I don't think I need them. Like I just need every representation of him that gets made as a figure, but not the color schemes. I've never really been that into repaint. And I think Titans are one place where repaints kind of bug me more than anything. Like, I know that Guardian Robot is a different thing than Omega Supreme, but I just did not want to get, especially a very niche repaint.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I eventually sucked it up and got Black Zarek because Black Zarek is not niche. Black Zarek is a big character in one of the series and different enough from Scorponok that having both representations is important. But I don't think having generic Guardian robots was worth it for me to want to spend the money on. I don't think having the different outfits the Tidal Wave wore to different parties is worth it for me either.
I'm still missing Metro Titan. I can't believe that never happened.
Right. Well, I would assume if they do a new Metroplex that they're going to do Metro Titan, right?
You would think. I'm also missing Brave Max.
But I think
Grand Max
the price
barely made it. Remember, like I think that's why that didn't happen.
Right.
I think when it comes to repaints, the price point really starts to play for a lot of us because it's like Tidal Wave is a big character, and if you were to ask me, I'm extremely biased, but I think he's one of the coolest original designs after G1, and I think that is definitely worth like spending a big price point, right? Like he costs more than most of us. Most of us wouldn't say Tidal Wave is our favorite character, so he costs more than it costs us to get the best figures of our favorite characters, right? Like I've never spent this much money on a Bumblebee before. So, or an RC. No, I haven't spent that much on an RC either. Those would be kind of favorite characters, or Ultra Magnus. but it was worth it to get this character, this big important character. But to get just a repaint character, ooh, because the price point is getting really high. It was never low. Like even at the beginning of Titan class, what did the first Titans cost?
150.
The first time was 150.
Were they 150?
Wasn't it?
Okay.
I think it was 150.
So we've gone from 150 to 200, and it's just getting harder and harder to swallow as the price gets up, because it's a really big purchase, right? If you're on a limited budget at all, like that's a difficult purchase, especially because the characters are getting, frankly, less major. Like Fort Max, Metroplex became a big character later. Fort Max was always an Autobot leader and an important character. Predacane is one of everyone's favorite combiners. Devastator is probably the iconic Transformer combiner. So those are all like worth the price point style things. Trypticon, sometimes important enough. But then when we get into things like, the ship that the Autobots took to Earth and the ship that the Decepticons took to Earth, like those are a little harder for that price point. And characters like, big cool characters from Armada and Cybertron, that price point is a lot for that. Thinking about, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say Zaldron says that it was originally $100. I don't recall.
I don't think it was 150. I think it was less.
I
thought it was 130.
It was at least 120. Maybe I'm wrong. I feel like this is something.
But I don't remember either. It is something you can find out, and something that I'm not going to find out. My hands are open right now. I'm not going to check because I'm still talking about the current price point is just kind of like what it means to spend that much.
Ben's World of Transformers has it archived at $149.99.
Yeah,
that's a trustworthy dude.
I was pretty sure that was the original price, but then like you could find them at Costco, I think, later for cheaper, but
yeah, obviously not this side of the country. Thanks a lot.
Yeah. I mean, obviously all the Titans have been, or not all of them, but several of them have been discounted after the fact.
So they're what, $250 now? Well, that's a big increase.
For 200.
For 200 now. That's not that big then.
I was gonna say, like, comparative to some of the other size classes, like, it actually hasn't went up that much. But for whatever reason, like, in your head psychologically, you're like, oh, $200 is a ton more than $150. Like, for whatever reason.
It's a big number. I think I think just raw, it is a big number. Right. Like, it is a large purchase. Like, I think when your Transformer starts to cost more than that, like, nice dinner that you want to get on Sunday, then you start to think, like, ooh, okay, this is a meaningful purchase instead of just, like, a little, like, anytime it's no more than I would spend on dinner for us at home, it's like, oh, whatever. I spend that much on dinner. But then when I get to 200, it's like, ooh, I spend that much on, like, meaningful purchases like electronics or like appliances or whatever, and I'm spending that much on a toy. And I think when I was talking about it being just a character, like, I know, Catherine, out of all four of us, you have the smallest collection, but all of us have big collections. All of us own a lot of individual characters, and getting one individual character out of a cast of 20 to 50 characters in a TV show, spending that much on one of those characters, in the end, Tidal Wave was just a guy in the show, just one of the strong Decepticons fighting. That's a lot of investment for a single character. And just like a normal character, not like the city they lived in or the ship that they flew around in the case of, any of the Fort Max type characters. No, he's just a guy. Just a guy who went on adventures.
Space is more of a premium than the cost, so that better be a damn good toy at that size.
Yeah, no, I agree.
And that's kind of the thing with Tidal Wave. Like, he's not, like, visually, this thing is impressive. like just sitting here looking at it, like that is a pretty Dane figure, and he looks accurate. He looks really good, really cool. But complexity, he's not complex. Like I have deluxe figures that are more complex than him. He's not complex at all. It's not bad. Like I don't think it's bad. I think they probably could have jazzed up the ship mode a little more and made it look more like an actual ship. Like he doesn't look a damn thing like an actual ship. It looks like a weird thing. Never did. That makes it accurate. But like the complexity, like Catherine just said, it needs to be a damn good toy. I mean, it's a really neat, cool display figure, and he's a cool action figure robot. But as far as like impressiveness of Transformers figures I own, he's on the lower end of the scale. He doesn't do anything that just made me go, wow, this is so cool. Not really. And he parts forms more than the original figure needed to. Like, he's not going to blow your mind as a Transformer. He might blow your mind as an action figure, and he might look super duper cool. But as far as impressive Transformer toy, not as much. And maybe Titans should be, just because they are so much money. They haven't been lately, though. Like, I don't think the last few Titans actually have been all that impressive. Like, both ships are, like, they're cool, but, like, the Nemesis is made of a lot of iffy plastic. And I'm not a fan of what the Nemesis was made of.
Well, I was going to ask you guys, what has been your favorite Titan? Or, like, what do you think, I guess, maybe, like, what is your favorite and what do you think is the best?
I'll answer real fast because it's easy for me. It's still Scorponok. Scorponok is just, he's exactly what he's supposed to be. Like, he does everything. Like, the headmaster's really good. The articulation's good. The scorpion mode is exactly what it's supposed to look like. Scorponok was just, bam. He was just the most, like, the Titan that I sit down with and I go, like, that is the best Scorponok we're ever going to get. And I just look at that thing and I want to give it a hug. So yeah, it's Scorponok for sure.
I agree with Scorponok. I also hold a flame for Omega.
Yeah, I think Scorponok was kind of like the peak of, what they were trying to do. I think, like, after that, like you said, Anna, that, like, the arc, like, I mean, you could tell that they were struggling to, like, fit the figure into the price point. Whereas Scorponok was kind of like, they finally got to, like, okay, this is the pinnacle as far as, what we want to do and complexity and all that type of thing with it. I also enjoyed Omega as well. I think that, like, the only problem with Omega, like, if there had never been a third-party version, like, I think I would be, like, super happy, like, but, I kind of agree, and it's, like, once you get, like, the DX9 version or, Fans Toys did one, too, and both of those were, like, really neat. And so, like, I enjoy it, but I think I would have enjoyed it more had they not had that version in. But, yeah, like, Scorponok, I think, hands down, is, like, the best one.
I'll be the dissenter. It's a tie for me between Metroplex and Trypticon. Love that Trypticon so much.
I think those two might be my least favorites.
The Trypticon does all the things, though. So, like,
it does. Yeah.
I don't know. And it chomps, like, you can put little Titan.
You can feed him a bowl of Titan Masters.
Yeah.
That's a cool feature.
That was a cool
like, even for us as adults, it's a cool feature.
Well, that was one of their early advertisements for him. Was him eating a bowl of Trypticon Crunch cereal, and it was a bowl full of Titan Masters.
Cute.
That was a real poster from Comic-Con, and I wanted one. I didn't get one.
Cute and terrifying.
So.
No, Trypticon has its neatness.
I had a second Trypticon for years because it was one of the Ollie's victims. And I had a second one for a long, long time, waiting for any third party to put out a kit to turn him into Gigastorm.
Right.
Because it's like, it just needs a horn and some stickers, and I can do that. I've got a spare one waiting. And I finally sold it off at TFCon Baltimore the last time it happened there, because it never happened. And I don't know that I would have bought a second Gigastorm because it's so similar. But like at the price, the Ollie's price plus a kit, that would have been fun for me.
I mean, I feel like you could have 3D printed a horn, but I'm somewhat surprised it never happened. Like how did Toy Hacks never just release another sticker set?
Yeah. Even just the
Although,
stickers, right? But they have the
yeah,
armory now. They could do the whole
yeah.
sticker set. You know, I don't know. I guess not
I
enough
think part of it
demand,
is they have
probably.
to ask, will that sell? You know, will it actually be something that would sell?
They also have
Right
to have
now,
someone design
Triptychon
it
hasn't
and
been
whatever too.
available in a long
Right.
time. And who besides me was holding on to spares waiting, you know?
Right. But
Yeah.
originally, back in the day, they could have done it.
Yes. I do have one issue with Titans, and it's not really with them necessarily. It's when they come out in the release schedule each year. They like to come out toward the end of summer, which is also the time that the Commander usually comes out, plus a normal wave, plus an exclusives wave, which makes it a very expensive time for Christian. And that's just how I budget, and that's, you know, not everybody. You can sometimes get them later or earlier on discount, whatever. But it's always like, here's a bunch of toys, including a Titan. That was last month for me. Ooh. I don't know how you fix that problem. I think it's just when they can fill up containers and ship them over here. That's probably just what it is. But ouch.
I mean, I also counterpoint to that, like, I mean, it's been somewhat rare, I feel like, for them to completely sold out before the fall. And so to me, I feel like you like should be able to get it at some point, like later on, if you have to budget for that.
I think the clearance adventure of Titans has actually made it a little harder to get yourself to get them sometimes. Because it's like even with Tidal Wave, right? Like right after I made the right after because I canceled it because I was moving and then I got it again once we settled in and I talked to my husband about it. He was like, just get Tidal Wave. You've been talking about it for 40 years. And I went ahead and got one. Immediately in our Discord group, someone posted that some random site was putting it on sale for like $30 off. And it's like, I don't know if that was really a good sell or if that was a good site to buy from, but that's just kind of like the prophecy of Titans is that they're going to be available for cheaper. It has a little bit to do with the release schedule because usually by Black Friday time, putting them up for a little bit of a sell would be a good strategy to get more of them to move after stores buy a bunch of them. So, you know, even $20, $30 off, like that's probably going to happen. Even for Tidal Wave, as a popular character a lot of people wanted, he'll probably go on sale over the holidays and I'll have a little bit of regret. And there's a possibility he could go as cheap as half price.
He might
or
not.
Ollie's discount.
Nemesis didn't.
He might not. You never know.
Yeah, I got the best sale on Nemesis. Amazon had her for like $50 off for like one day over one random weekend. And I was like, that's what I was waiting for. Boop. And then she sold out.
Yeah, right after. Yeah, right away. But then like Cybertron Metroplex went real cheap, right? Like that one.
Right.
And I get why that would be less in demand, even though it's from the same trilogy as Tidal Wave. I understand why that would be in less demand than Tidal Wave. But yeah, anyway, I think that's been just a little bit of a sticking point with Titans has just been that they sometimes get cheap. And it makes it just a little bit of a bummer to spend the money on them. And I think a lot of that came from like I ended up getting my Fort Max for $50 shipped from someone because it was getting always to hell and someone just had an extra one and was like, you know what, I'm going to send it to someone for $50 shipped. I can't imagine they made very much money from that transaction.
How did they make
given the
money?
size
Like,
and
it
weight?
costs
No,
like
they
How
were
did they make any money?
$50
Yeah.
at Ollie's.
Right. I don't
And
know
shipping.
how that all worked out for them. But yeah, because I think the shipping, when I looked at the box, I think it had like a $23 shipping label on it. So they didn't make very much money from that
Was that the
transaction at
media
all.
mail one that was like the wrong shipping?
I can't remember.
Okay.
Because
because I bought two extra Fort Maxes Ollie's that year because I was planning to do a Grand Max and a Brave Max, but then I needed cash. And I had to ship them, and I lost money on both of them because it was very expensive to do that.
Right.
It was like $60 or $70 to ship them because like I ended up selling them both to way out west, and I'm on the East Coast. That was very difficult to do for something that size.
Right. So, all right. Well, I know we've covered a fair amount with the Titans tonight. Was there anything, Anna, that any subtopics that we've missed?
Nah, I'm good. I need to get to bed.
All right. Well, I appreciate everyone joining us tonight. I'm trying to get back to the Discord here. So, book club. Sunday night at 9:30 Eastern, 8:30 Central on the TF Talk Discord. And I guess they're doing Beast Wars 2, episodes 1 and 2.
Yes, we are not book club anymore. We are now an anime cult.
Okay, anime cult. Sounds
Anime
good.
cult.
There you go.
We ran out of books.
That's too bad.
We finished the last good run of Transformers that there's ever been, and as far as I can tell, will ever be. So, you know.
Well, I don't know if you want to say that, but like, who knows?
People not on this call love the Skybound run.
I bought them all. My comic guy convinced me. I'm gonna
That
try and
doesn't
read them
mean you love
again.
them.
We'll see. I haven't read them
Well, they waste
yet.
money, but at least you're giving it a try. I'm reading them too. It's fine.
It's not a waste of money. I like keeping my local comic shop in business.
Yep.
That and I just like staying engaged with the fiction. Anyway, we were finishing the show.
We're finished.
So
yeah.
anyway,
We'll see you next week.
All right. Well, thank you guys for joining me tonight. Thank you to everyone in the chat. And we'll see everyone next week.
Bye. I'll miss you.
Good night.